Hello, everybody. This is Jacob Sapochnik with the Enchanting Lawyer Podcast. This is a show where we interview the most inspiring entrepreneurs and business owners who share their ideas and successes with us to make us better at what we do. And today we have a guest all the way from Canada who is living right now in Southern California. We have Daryl Urbanski. Daryl is the founder and president of bestbusinesscoach.ca and is best known for his ability to create seven-figure automated income streams from scratch. He is Canadian turned Southern Californian. He has quickly climbed the entrepreneurial ladder, gaining respect from thousands of small business owners worldwide. Daryl, welcome to the show. I'm very happy that you're here.
Thank you. Yeah, it's an honor to be here. I appreciate your time, and
how are you?
It's an honor. Yeah, it's an honor to be invited. Excellent. I'm good.
And Daryl, I gave a little intro about you, but why don't you tell our listeners more about yourself and what got you here, and why did you get into this area?
Sure. Well, I think a lot of people, they probably come from same roots in the sense of, I kind of always knew I wanted to get involved in business some way, shape, or form. And I played around with a lot of different things when I was younger, from shoveling driveways up in Canada and mowing lawns and babysitting and paper routes and a number of different things. But I've done a lot of different models, including franchise models, the freelance model, which is very similar, self-employed. And it's just like every iteration, you just get a little bit smarter, a little bit wiser. And a few years back, I really got into marketing and automation at a deep level, and to where I had a martial arts school where pretty much everything was automated. I don't want to say everything, but I had to a large degree, I had the day-to-day operations taken care of, except for the marketing and the selling, just in that particular niche. But class fulfillment, following up with students, all that sort of stuff. And anyways, I was helping out a lot of other people as I was building my own business, and they were having success in their own businesses. And it was flower shop, a mechanic's garage, and a buddy of mine was working with a company based out of Ottawa that was like an online business directory, and he went from being a front-end sales rep to being promoted to CEO of a $1.4 million company, and he wanted to put me on retainer. And that's when I was like, there might be more to this knowledge that I've gained than the value I'm getting out of it. So I started turning and helping business owners, and I wrote a couple of books, and I put them up on Amazon. It was kind of a market research in and of itself. Each book was on a different topic, and I wanted to see what were people most interested in. And one of them started to take off, and I started marketing that book, and it managed to hit #1 on Amazon for the top 100 in marketing and sales. And I just started doing work for clients, and I've automated about 5-6 funnels now. And when I was working for John Assaraf, that was really when I figured out parts that were missing, because I created a couple other automated online funnels, but the most that any of them had done was maybe $6,000 to $9,000 a month, because I wasn't quite getting the second half of it, and that was the traffic half of it, and I didn't quite figure that part out. But working with John, we figured that out, and with a budget of $500, we grew and scaled a funnel to do, now it's done probably around $3.5, maybe even $4 million this year so far. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm setting those up for other clients, and I'm speaking on stages and helping other people, and it's just fun. I'm getting to pick projects that are interesting, that I think are bringing value to the world, and I've set a new mission to create 200 new multimillionaire business owners who solve world problems with entrepreneurship.
And Daryl, I think one of the reasons I'm excited that you're here is that a lot of my audience are attorney professionals, and working very hard, long hours, trying to get the best clients. And I think the system of trying to automate, trying to be smart at what we do, because we trying to get the best service possible. But what if we found a better system, a better way to do it? And that's why I'm excited that you're here to share this with us. So why don't we start explaining why is automation so important when we run any business?
Right. Well, yeah, automation is incredibly important, and it's kind of two parts to that answer. So the first part is automation is just kind of the second step of a system, because you can't automate something until you have a systematic way of doing something. And so, in a lot of the existing, in a lot of businesses, they're already doing things. But for example, I was having dinner in LA with one of the founders of Outback Steakhouse, the franchise, and he was talking about how, as a consultant working with a lot of companies. I was like, what's the most common issue you see a lot of your clients dealing with? He deals with big corporations. And he's like, they're sales forces. They're almost always out there just figuring it out on their own. Like they're just left to their own devices. There's not like a standard way of how you do things here. And I know that you've done that very, very well in your business. And that's just creating a system for how to do it. And then automation is taking it to the next step where you try to reduce any human elements, the human involvement, because we're prone to error, we're dilatory, we have brain farts, right? We get mixed up with technology, and that way it's more reliable, more dependable, and it can scale. So automation is huge because it allows you to step out of certain day-to-day aspects and suddenly start running your business more like a business owner. Whereas as opposed to being a manager and dealing with staff and headaches and just trying to get the end results done, if you can get yourself to a certain level of automation, whether it's a blend between technology and humans interacting, that like with a operations manual and systems, standard operating procedures and that, or not, you need to have automation. If you are doing all the work, that's not a business, that's a job, and you are self-employed. And that's something that I think maybe some of your listeners might feel like when they're putting in the long days, because you're billing clients, that's great, but then you have to track it all in the account. Like there's just so many tiers to it. It's a lot of work, and you make more money than just having a job, but that's because you're doing all that stuff yourself. Right. And that's not where you want to be. You want to be the owner of the asset that solves a problem for a certain type of person. And so if we're talking with attorneys, maybe it's helping parents get control of their children. If it's an immigration issue, maybe it's helping someone, come into the country they want to live at. Whatever that is, people are suffering from a problem, and that is the market. And then automation, you want to try to find a highly leverageable way to fulfill it for people. And that's also quality control, to have consistent results in the back end. So automation is huge. It's the only way that you and honestly, and forgive me if I'm just rambling on, but automation, like anytime you do anything enough times, a pattern will emerge. Right. And you need to establish those patterns so that way you can look at your business metrics and tweak it and improve it and make educated decisions about how to grow your business. There's a saying, it's like, if you can't manage it, if you can't measure it, you can't manage it. And if you can't manage it, you can't grow it. So automation is huge because it allows you to accomplish, like with Johnson, since we were doing millions of dollars. And, for that funnel itself, we had people, ad person, a stats person, and a customer service person. So that's a great example, because with the power of automation, doing hundreds of thousands per week, and only 3 people.
And I had Michael Gerber on the show several months ago, and he's the father of the E-Myth, the systemization of business. And and he was talking about the importance of having a system and you need to know, put it in writing so you don't have to repeat yourself, and why businesses become more sellable if you have a system. Now you have something to sell. But I think you've taken it to a much higher level. Because now we have technology, we have more tools that were not available when Michael wrote the first E-Myth. So let's say if a lawyer or a business owner who has nothing in place, what would be the first couple of steps for them to create an automated sales funnel or system in the business? What would you recommend?
Sure. So, the first step is to get started. It's always to get started, and it's to do it in bite-sized steps, and it's something that's less scary. So when people think of automation a lot of ways, they think of this weird robotic thing that feels awkward, that comes across awkward, and that's got mixed results. So I would suggest someone do something really simple with automation, and they can there's all sorts of free tools. If they Google email marketing automation, you can automate a lot of emails, and it's called an autoresponder. And the autoresponder, a lot of people know, it's like if you're going away on vacation, you set your autoresponder up to say, hey, I'm out of the office and I'll be back next Friday. And then when I email you, I get an auto response back telling me that you're not available. But now with technology, it's probably one of the biggest business breakthroughs, in my opinion, is they've taken that autoresponder and they've made it like a calendar that you can schedule. And you can basically have autoresponders. I have ones. The longest one I have goes on for 5 years. And so anyone who's looking to get started, a really easy way is just to go online and search email marketing automation or email marketing software. There's free ones. There's ones that are $20 a month. There's ones that are hundreds of dollars a month. You can get a really basic one and just write a simple campaign for someone. And type of campaign that you use depends on the platform that you're using. So if like Aweber is a common one, there's MailChimp, there's Infusionsoft, there's GetResponse, there's all these different names, but you just want some sort of basic one. And depending if you're just getting started, just write a simple like post working with you follow-up. And that would be a great way to get started. Write a simple, maybe 6-month system of what you would like to have happen, and you can do it all via email. So one of the things that I used to do is I would have an email address for designated positions in my company. So maybe I have like front desk at yourbusinessname.com. You've got finance at yourbusinessname.com. And you can set up autoresponders for emails that go out at certain points in time. So before I get too far down the rabbit hole, let's make this relevant with a simple example. So for example, to automate something and have it not sound robotic and awkward, it needs to have some sort of common thread of knowledge between us, whether it's a shared interest or some sort of mutual piece of knowledge that we're talking about, right? So at my martial arts school, one of the things that I automated was following up with people after they'd had an injury. When people tend to injure something, it doesn't really go away, right? If you hurt your knee gets better, but it just reaches different levels of management. So I had a 5-year campaign at my martial arts school that whenever a student got injured, we had a simple form we filled out online, and the syntax was your blank, your injury, your knee, your finger, your whatever. And these emails, they would get 2 emails in the first week, and they get an email a week later, and they get an email a month later, and then they get an email like 3-4 months later, and then they get another email like 6-8 months after that. But it's all about, hey, Jacob, how are you doing? I was watching a movie last night, and the main character hurt his knee. Wanted to email you and see how your knee is doing. And they have no idea it's being merged into that, but it's a simple way to include automation in your life. And I used to do that, and I would have emails. I would take an autoresponder, and when you schedule it, so email 1 goes out on day 1, email 2 goes out on day whatever you want it to be, 22, 43, whatever that is. And now, especially some of the more advanced ones, they let you pick time of day of the week, all sorts of sophisticated things. I'd have this calendar of emails that it's almost like an assembly line, going back to Michael Gerber, who actually was, inspired this way of thinking for me, where I would have, if someone came and registered and signed up for an appointment, then there would be an email out to them to remind them to show up. Right? They signed up, they made an appointment. We would fill out a web form, an online form internally that would automatically send them reminders up to the appointment date. Hey, just a reminder, your session's tomorrow. By the way, you may want to check out this cool video. Right? Then the appointment date. And we would just have these autoresponders off of every action. Anytime you hit like a decision node, quote unquote, where they could, like an appointment, they could show up, they could not show up, they could they could cancel, they could no show, they show up. And those are your 3 options. So we would have 3 autoresponders based off those 3 options. And obviously the ultimate goal being to get them to do the action we want them to take. So that's just, I feel like I've given kind of a few different examples, but if someone's looking to get started, pick something basic. And the easiest thing to do is a simple and a very, very powerful ROI campaign is just a basic thank you. Do you know anyone else who might benefit from my services campaign? And that's something that it's as simple as a few thank you emails and just an email saying, hey, were you happy? Please fill out this survey. And if they fill out the survey and they're happy, to follow up with a referral request. Or if they fill out the survey and they're unhappy, then to obviously try to fix that. Or have it happen after the survey, depending on what survey answer you get. If they give you the survey results of their service and they gave you like high scores across all boards, then drop them in this campaign. And over the next 6 months, send them a few thank you emails. Send them a little thank you video. Do you know what I mean? Like little things like that. Really easy way to get involved, and now you are wielding the power of automation. And it is scary how powerful it can be, because in February, I got an email from a student for a school of business I haven't run for like 4 years. Daryl, you were the best coach ever. I can't believe you kept in touch and remembered my knee. It's the student that blew his knee playing ultimate frisbee. And anyways, for him, he trained at my school 6 months, 8 months. But I've stayed in touch with him this long, and that's a powerful way to leverage automation in your life and in your business.
And what I like about this example, Daryl, is because it looks very overwhelming to do this. But if you start from this thank you or appreciation point, this is really where repeat business is going to come from. You say, look, I'm going to automate. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to automate my my follow-up thank you process. So if somebody's done with the case, or if somebody is we achieved the result, or somebody retained us, we send them an email and start with that. So because like you said, in your case, 5-year follow-up, somebody, in a legal business, we sometimes cases can be 2 to 4 years process, right? If you set up that automation, and then these people, first of all, you're different than other attorneys or other professionals. Nobody's going to do that, and these people think that you did it personally because your name will appear in that email, and they'll thank you forever, which is amazing.
It is amazing, and it's an easy way to do it. And the only thing you want to do is make sure that email comes from you, that it doesn't look like it comes from some other system or anything.
Right. So it has to come from your personal email.
Right. And you can set that up, but I just know someone who's tried to. I only mention that because someone who didn't know, they didn't set it up, and it's in the setup. So that any tool you get should walk you through that. But just be aware you're trying to model your own emails, not make it look like it's coming from something separate. But no, it's an easy way to get started.
This is, to me, is fundamental, and I think in a few years, or maybe less than a few years, it's going to become almost integral part of any business. If you're not going to have automation, and at least in some part of it, then you're not going to have a business.
Right.
Daryl, we talked about general automation, but I'm curious about the sales automation and sales funnels. So why don't you share with our listeners what is a sales funnel, and how does one fit into a business?
Got it. Well, if you ask this question to different people, you may get different responses. And for me, a sales funnel, a lot of people feel a sales funnel is a process where you take an unknown person, you turn them into a lead, you nurture that lead until you get a sale. And that's what they consider like a sales funnel. For me, I look at an entire business as an assembly line. And I go, all right, I've got some lower end things here, and I know that when people have finished this product, either they're fixed or they're going to have one of two other problems. Do you know what I mean? And then that makes them ready for the 102 or the 102A. Do you know what I mean? And so I look at it from unknown universe to lead, to warm lead, to first-time sale, to multiple back-end sales. And in a lot of companies, I talked about my goal to help create 200 new multimillionaires who solve world problems with entrepreneurship. A lot of people don't even think about the what they want their business to generate. They just jump into business, and they don't even really know. Instead of being decisive and imposing their will on the world to say, I want to make X, Y, Z, blank units times blank price equals $1 million. That's 1,000 units at $1,000. Right? Or 2,000 units at $500. So whatever it is that you're trying to do, if you're trying to hit that 7-figure mark, you need to start there and work backwards. And so when I work with clients, sometimes we're not just dealing with the first sale, because I'm trying to help people build 7-figure businesses. And sometimes we can't get there with what most people are buying on the front end, right? Their most common sales item, it's like a $15 widget. And, that's a lot of widgets to make $1 million off that. But a certain percent of people who buy that have another problem. So it's much like dating. And it's a great analogy to make, because you really are. You're meeting new people, and then you have to get to know them. And it can be tough. If you've got a wife and kids and you're trying to juggle like 10 new people you met and follow, and follow up with them, like it's a full workload. So that's where automation can be extremely powerful, because you can use a system that you can leverage, and you can follow up with people in an integral and human way to keep in touch and just stay in front of them. And so that's what I think a sales funnel is to me. A sales funnel is almost the whole business as a system, as Michael Gerber talked about. But most people talk about the sales funnel, they talk about the front end part of it. And that part, for me, the main focus on any traditional sales funnel is just to break even or better. Because most people think that you get a customer to make a sale, but they have that backwards. You get a sale or you make a sale to get a customer. Right. Okay, because a sale is a golden egg, and a customer is the goose who lays golden eggs. If I'm someone and I buy whey protein, that's a consumable product that I'm going to need again and again and again, right? Certain industries have a tendency to repeat purchases. Now, if you're selling bridges to municipalities, you might only sell them one bridge every 100 years. It's a different industry, but most of us are some sort of repeat business. and you want to be able to build that relationship with someone, so that I always bring my business to you.
And so the sales funnel is really the core right now for people who are trying to have an online presence, because people come to you and they spend some time, they check you out, and then it's your responsibility to get them into that funnel, so eventually they give you a chance to become a customer. And
Right.
again, we spend so much money on advertising, but we don't really think about how do we make the most of that money. And sales funnels to me are, and when I understood the value of that, it was just, it really made a difference in the way we do business in my law firm. And so
Oh yeah.
for somebody who doesn't really understand, and I want to make it very simple for the listeners,
Sure.
maybe give me an example of how, and maybe in a few steps, how we can automate a sales funnel in a service business.
Perfect.
Excellent.
Yep. So a great way to do it is, for example, we're going to borrow from a few different people's models here, but
Sure.
you can do something like, you're an immigration lawyer. So for you, like if I were looking into immigration services and I saw an ad that says, warning, read this before you call any immigration lawyer. And it's like top 5 trending ways immigration lawyers charge you more than they should. Something like that.
Mm-hmm.
That's going to get my attention. So I go to check this out, and I click the ad, or if it's Yellow Pages, whatever it is. Again, if we're talking about online, I see that ad. I'm thinking about, I need an immigration lawyer. I'm coming to the States. Okay. So, click the ad, go to the page, and it offers me this report on the 5 most common mistakes immigration lawyers make that end up costing you big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to know what those are. And to get it, you want to know my email and my name. So I give them to you, and now I'm in your database, and now you know who I am, and now you can follow up with me. And it's a simple process from that point forward, where after I get the report, you send a couple of emails saying, hey, did you read it? Did you have any questions? By the way, just so you know, like, we'd like to, if you're interested, you may qualify for a free consultation. So there's a couple of different things you can do. You can give me the free report, and then right after, just follow up and say, hey, did you have any questions? Would you like to get on the phone and discuss your issue? If you are interested, click this link and let's set up an appointment. And that could send me to an appointment scheduling, a calendar where I pick a date and give it my name and phone number. And now we've got an appointment set up. The other option is after you get my name and email, you could send me to a survey to find more about me. And then put me in, if you have 3 or 4 of these, if you've got, a line for business owners, a line for religious workers, a line for, government officials. Now you could have one of these autoresponders we talk about designed for each one of your main clientele, and you're getting them with the report or you're getting them with the survey up front. And one way or another, you're getting my name and you're getting my contact info, and you're trying to learn more about me and give me some sort of personalized follow-up. And that's a really easy thing to do, is just, and it's phishing. It really is a type of phishing where most owners are so caught up in their own business, they don't have time to test or to create it and see how it works. But like you said, when you realize the power of it, I mean, I've had clients where we were spending $3.50 per lead, but we were grossing $27 per lead generated. And so when you talk about the ROI, like when you figured out what the sales funnel was and how the importance of it, I know some friends that play in stocks, and I'm like, for me, there's just no interest in that. I'm more of a commodities and real estate guy, or marketing funnels, because if I could put my money in stocks and maybe get a 10% ROI on my money, or I could, put some work into a marketing funnel and make 1,000% ROI, 500% ROI. Like, I'm going to do that every day of the week. And that's where there's huge, so many businesses, because they are so inefficient and ineffective with their marketing, which, as you mentioned, there's so much money left on the table. These people have no idea. People that came to them, Chet Holmes wrote a book called The Ultimate Sales Machine. And in it, he cites some research that states that on average, only 3% of leads are ready to buy now. Mm-hmm. Only 3%. So if you were able to stay in touch with them and build a relationship with them and become their trusted advisor and friend, and help them out with the little details and the stuff that they're going to want to do themselves, because we're all afraid to ask for help and we're all afraid to spend money, then when it comes time that they do have to ask for help and they do have to give someone money, they're going to come to you because they know, like, and trust you. Because instead of just trying to sell them right away, you sincerely tried to build a relationship with them. You showed that you cared about them, and that's probably one of the most powerful things you can do in your marketing, is to let people know that you do care about them. Which, it's crazy, because I feel like if you can't trust the businesses out there, I don't know how the world keeps turning, right? But people are so skeptical of doing business with someone they've never done business with before.
Right.
And so that's where I say it's like that dating process. So, and that's just an easy way. You took me from an unknown person. You offered me something of value that was going to help prevent me from losing my hard-earned money and getting ripped off, or you provided a done do-it-yourself guide, how to do it yourself. Because what you'll find is, you might even know this, Jacob, you got a lot of people that they just want to save the money and do it themselves.
Correct.
Right? And they'll waste a lot of your time in that process. And so those people, oftentimes, if you just give them the info, they'll become raving fans, and they'll go do it themselves, and it saves you your time. But there's a lot of people that they'll read all the do-it-yourself stuff, and they're like, I don't have time to do this. This certainly looks like a lot. This guy seems to know what he's doing. Can I just pay you to have you do it for me? And those people, again, because you took the time to help them without seeming like you were interested in something for yourself, again, you get the chance to demonstrate your knowledge to them, and now they know you better than anyone else. And so they're going to feel safer working with you.
Right.
But that's basically a simple method. You could just add to some sort of survey or some sort of free offer for something. Again, it's bait, it's fishing, to get me to give you my name and email so you can send it to me, or name, email, phone number, which will be harder because you're asking for more information. I don't know why I should trust you yet. But then once you have it, to just follow up. Hey, did you get everything all right? Which one of those 5 are you most worried about? Did you want to get on the phone and talk about it? Click here to set up an appointment in my calendar. Now you've got this automated little system that's booking things for you.
Right. And people are trying to put too much emphasis on, pay-per-click and SEO, getting the leads, but they don't put any efforts on nurturing them, just like you said, and trying to close more of these leads, right?
Right. In that process. And so now what we're able to do is, you're able to take your best sales rep, and a mentor of mine, Tyler Garnes, called it the power of one. He called it exercise of the power of one, where you basically take one person. Imagine, and Seth Godin has a quote where he said, how would your business be different if you could never get another prospect? How would that change the way you run business and how you do what you do? If there were no new people you could get. Suddenly the focus turns to the people you've got. And oftentimes, if you look at your best sales reps, they'll take the people that they get and they'll work those leads and they'll stay in touch with them and they'll build a relationship. And you can use tools right now to just take your best sales reps and to just replicate their efforts with automated software. And email marketing is a powerful way people do it. And there's all sorts of other things you can do with text messages and voice broadcasts and online presentations or telephone, like even this. In some ways, this is somewhat automated, right? It's a sense that we can sit down, Jacob, and have this conversation and share this knowledge, and we never have to repeat this conversation again. We can just refer people to it. So there's tons of ways you can do that.
Absolutely. Well, in fact, it's a good example because, we're recording it today, which is a Friday, but the podcast itself is going to be released at a later day, maybe next week, and it's going to come out via email automated to all my list, which is exactly what it's going to, that's exactly what we're talking about.
Right. Exactly. So there's automation at work in a lot of levels people don't understand or take advantage of. And it's okay that we're constantly looking outward for the next big thing. But sometimes if you just look at what you already have, you may not need to do something overly radical. There might be a fortune already sitting in your business. If you have a team of sales reps, if you are your best sales rep, turn that into a system. Again, if you haven't read read Michael Gerber's book, The E-Myth. That's a great book to read. And it's not a long read either. And just start documenting. That one thing Michael does say is if your business depends on extraordinary people, then your business will be at the mercy of them as well. Because then you have to jump through hoops to keep those extraordinary people because you don't know what makes them so special. But if you've documented it, and this is another mentor of mine told me, Daryl, you will always be a beta version of everyone else in your company. And he's right, because no one's going to do it the way I want to do it, right? But if you manage based on objective results, that's a better measurement. And then now if you can take the people who have the best results and document what it is they do, now you've got something other people can learn and replicate. And they still might be the best at it than anyone else, but at least they're not like, you know what I mean? At least there's hope for others, so to speak, and you can have some sort of quality control. So,
Of course.
no, it's a huge thing. Having internal documentation of everything people are doing, records on file, and some sort of CRM service, being able to log the conversations you've had with a client, you know, from between months and years, and have all that tied up to your marketing. You know what emails you've sent the person or what they have or haven't bought. It's all very, very, very powerful and really important information.
And you know, basically, to summarize what you're saying right now, this is essentially freedom, because if you are hostage to your employees, to people, you know, your star employees, the people that are the best at what they do, and you can't afford to lose them. How often do I hear people say, "I can't lose this attorney, I can't lose this paralegal, you know, I'm gonna die." Well, if that's the case, then you don't have a business, because that's not the way a business should be run. It should be run based on systems. Everybody should know what they're doing, and if they leave, unfortunately, somebody else can step in, get the manual, and the business continues. And that's how you're going to be able to sell it one day, right?
Right. Exactly. And a lot of people get caught up, but they're like, oh, well, this is what everybody does. Yeah, but even if you're a doctor, once you go to work at a hospital, every hospital does it a little bit differently there. And so even if you think it's just standard for your industry, you still need to have your SOPs, your standard operating procedures. I mean, that's a huge part of it. It's a huge part of having that automated. What happens, and that's, I guess I don't know if I went on a tangent, but the power of one exercise is having one customer. And if you could treat them the best that you could for, you know, for all their problems that you can solve, how would you do that? And if you can make that, like, put that on a calendar. Hey, we helped Joe with whatever, you know, move to America, because you're an immigration lawyer, right? You helped them move to America. And then, of course, 6 months to a year and a half later, they always want to bring their family over. That's a back-end upsell. Do you know what I mean? And now that's strategically placed in your funnel. And it can even be in the email service to just email your front desk staff. Email them a couple of times if you want to remind them to call this guy, follow up, see how his family's doing, and if they've made it over yet, and if not, do they need help with that? You know, and that's a simple thing where, again, there could be tons of money sitting on the table that people aren't taking advantage of because they're just existing as is, as opposed to having, like, instead of being strategic and deliberate in their actions.
I see. Well, you know, it's one of those things where you know, we need to think about it differently, and that's what I think is missing in the way people are conducting the businesses today. And so, you know, that whole concept of automation and trying to be ahead of the game is so powerful. Daryl, can you share with us some tips for 2015? You know, businesses are listening, and you know, we're thinking about automation and thinking about, what are some of the tools that we need to be considering next year to be successful in this process?
Got it. So this is actually a great topic. First of all, for any business, there's only 3 ways to get customers at a bare bone fundamental level. Or there's only 3 ways to grow your business. Sorry. One is to get more customers. 2 is to get more customers to spend more money with you. And the third one is get them to come back and buy from you more often. So you can get more customers. You can get them to buy more every time they buy from you. So if you're a restaurant, you can increase the price of your meals, or you can start asking more about add-ons and upsells, or inviting them to bring friends with them, and then you can get them to come back more often. So they start spending money with you more frequently, and that's called RFM analysis: recency, frequency, monetary value. It would be well worth your listeners' time and its focus and attention to look that up and just read a little bit on it, because there's been huge businesses that have been built on those principles alone. So I would really focus on those 3 things: on getting more customers, getting customers to buy more when they buy, and then getting them to come back more often. And as far as the automation, there's a whole suite of tools out there that they can look into, from Infusionsoft, which is one I know that you use, and I use that as well. There's plenty others, though. There's Entreport, there's Pardot, there's Net Atlantic. There's a bunch of other automation softwares. There's Zaxa. There's more coming up, but it's email automation software. And then there's tools that you may want to consider as well. And it doesn't even need to be anything super fancy. Google Hangouts. You can do a Google Hangout with a group of people, and then have that recording forever on YouTube, and then just put it on a web page and send people to that. So you can have like an orientation video from your staff. Hey, now, you know, just to let you know, before you come into our office, this is what you can expect. video 1, 2, 3, right? All of a sudden people are having a much more comfortable experience. And so there's tools, again, just basic video, teleseminar, webinar tools. And there was one more thing I wanted to add, but it seems to have left me at this moment.
And Daryl, as we come to the end of our show, why don't you share with my listeners perhaps a book or a movie you think will inspire them to be better at what they do, or kind of give them some ideas?
Yeah. Well, everyone should read the book Scientific Advertising by Claude Hopkins. It's not a big book. Dale Ogilvy once had the largest advertising company in America, and on the front cover of Scientific Advertising is a quote saying, "No one should have anything to do with advertising until they've read this book at least 7 times. It changed the course of my life," which is a huge thing to say from someone who built the biggest company in the States at the time, the most successful. So Scientific Advertising is a must-read. I'm also a big fan of Think and Grow Rich, and I would check out that RFM analysis book. Just if anything you can find on that would be huge.
We'll have links in our show notes as well. And for our listeners that want to find you on the web, do you want to share with us verbally your blog, your website, your Twitter, whatever you want people to be able to connect with you?
Sure. I mean, they can find me on pretty much any social media channel, Daryl Urbanski, Urbanski, Urbanski. But the best place to go is bestbusinesscoach.ca for California or Canada. And yeah, that's the easiest way to track me down.
Excellent. Great name. Thank you so much, Daryl, for sharing your wisdom with us. It was really good, and I learned a lot as well. Puts my thinking in my head. And I wish you happy holidays as well. And to our listeners, thank you for staying with us this show. We look forward to being with you next time in our next episode. This is Jacob at enchantinglawyer.com. Any questions, any comments, you can leave it at our blog or directly on our iTunes. And we'll see you in our next episode.